The movie plunges us into a world where an unsettling silence punctuated by a woman's desperate cries gives way to the deceptive calm of everyday life. This jarring shift immediately sets a disquieting tone, introducing us to Piper, a partially sighted girl, and her stepbrother Andy. Their seemingly ordinary existence is shattered by the sudden and mysterious death of their father, a tragedy that forces them into the unfamiliar and often cold embrace of the foster care system. Their new guardian Laura initially appears as a figure of eccentric warmth and unwavering kindness. Yet beneath her overly enthusiastic demeanor and unsettlingly direct remarks, a darker truth subtly begins to emerge. Piper, relying on her heightened non-visual senses, becomes an unwitting detective, picking up on the subtle cues that hint at Laura's manipulative nature and the disturbing reality she tries to conceal. Meanwhile, Andy grapples not only with the fresh grief of his father's passing but also with the insidious resurfacing of his own past trauma. His father's abuse, a secret he painstakingly tried to keep from Piper, now threatens to unravel his composure and judgment. The film masterfully interweaves these personal struggles, constructing a tense psychological thriller where the most profound dangers are hidden in plain sight and the siblings' fight for survival becomes a desperate battle against a mind consumed by its own twisted grief and delusion. The movie opens with ominous music and a woman speaking Russian, her whimpering and choking suggesting a dire situation. This scene abruptly ends, transitioning to the sound of water and muffled chatter, followed by an engine revving and girls laughing. We are introduced to Piper, a partially sighted girl, and her stepbrother Andy. They are waiting for a bus and Andy tries to make conversation with Piper's friends, but they quickly leave, making fun of him. Piper teases him about his attempts to befriend them. Andy notes that Piper's cane is in her bag and she reveals she doesn't like using it to avoid being treated differently. They discuss Piper's goalball game, which they lost. Back home, Andy tries to get their dad to answer the door. Piper, sensing something is wrong, insists their dad always answers. They enter to find water running and a chilling silence. Piper, visually impaired, is terrified, repeatedly asking Andy what's happening. The scene cuts to a police officer questioning Piper. She explains their dad had just finished chemo and was supposed to be better. She tells the officer Andy didn't want her in the room and that he told her dad would be okay. Later, a social worker explains that Piper will be placed with a foster mother, Laura, while Andy will go to a supervised unit. Andy protests, insisting he looks after Piper and doesn't want her with a stranger. He asks to apply for guardianship when he turns 18. The social worker mentions Laura has had issues with troubled kids in the past, causing Piper to become defensive, revealing she got into trouble when she was 8. Andy asks the social worker to allow them to stay together. She agrees on the condition that he behaves for 3 months. Andy comforts Piper, telling her their dad is catching a plane to heaven to make her feel better. Piper acknowledges he doesn't have to make everything nice for her. She mentions the room still smells like their dad and Andy suggests she take his unwashed pillow. They arrive at Laura's house. Laura, a lively and eccentric woman, greets them with loud music and open arms. She introduces them to her stuffed dog Pom-Pom and mentions her cat Junkman, whom she hasn't stuffed yet. Piper asks Laura why she doesn't use her cane and Laura empathizes with her desire not to be treated differently. Laura then reveals she has a blind daughter, Kathy, who passed away by drowning. This information is overheard by Piper, who directly asks how Kathy died, to Andy's embarrassment. Laura receives a call from Wendy, seemingly their social worker, confirming the kids' arrival and reminding Laura of the drill. Outside, Andy finds Oliver, Laura's other foster child, holding the cat in the pool. Laura retrieves the cat, explaining that Oliver is selectively mute since Kathy's death and needs special care. Oliver appears to be a small red-haired, curly-haired boy. Laura shows Piper to Kathy's old room while Andy's room is upstairs. Andy is frustrated by the small space. Laura later checks on Andy, subtly questioning him about a message on his phone and asking if he's defensive. Piper jokes through the wall. Laura then takes Andy's phone, claiming there was a message, causing Andy to react angrily. He then quietly asks if Oliver is a fucking weirdo and Laura responds with a simple no. Later, Andy sees Laura watching a disturbing Russian video with a crying woman. He tries to help Oliver, who is in the bath, leading to him finding scratches and bruises on Oliver. The next morning, Laura tells Andy that he was quite aggressive last night. She suggests he take a shower and then leaves with Piper for girl shopping. While they are gone, Andy enters Oliver's locked room. He tries to communicate with Oliver, offering him fruit and a pen and paper. Oliver, instead of writing, uses the pen to repeatedly stab himself in the arm. Horrified, Andy tries to stop him, but Oliver becomes aggressive, screaming and choking. Laura and Piper arrive back at the house to find Andy trying to restrain a screaming Oliver outside. Laura demands to know why Oliver is outside and tells Andy to get Piper inside. Andy tries to explain that Oliver hurt himself. When Andy reveals that Oliver injured himself, Laura's reaction is to shield Oliver and prevent Andy from seeking outside help, emphasizing that she can fix this. Piper, confused, asks if she should call an ambulance, but Laura quickly dismisses the idea. Inside, Oliver, suddenly lucid, asks where he is and who Andy is before screaming for help. Laura subdues him, hinting at a darker side to her care. She berates Andy for invading her privacy and for letting the cat Junkman out, which she claims is now missing. Later, a traumatized Andy wakes up in a hospital, hearing a disturbing voice repeating she'll die in the rain. He believes Piper is in danger and desperately tries to leave, fearing for her life. A doctor assures him he has a concussion and needs to rest. Andy receives a message from Piper's friend expressing concern for his well-being. Back at Laura's house, Piper joins Laura, who is watching a video of her deceased daughter Kathy. Laura describes Kathy, mentioning her long brown hair and freckles. In the video, Kathy is seen with a red-haired boy whom Laura identifies as Ollie, her nephew, and Andy notes his name is Oliver. Laura assures Andy that Piper is safe. She then brings him a body spray from Piper, stating that Piper wants him to have it. Andy, still distressed, warns Laura not to let Piper out in the rain, recalling his father's chilling words. Laura dismisses his fears, attributing them to his dad's death in the shower. She promises to keep Piper inside. The next day, Laura bathes Piper and suggests Piper call her mom. She tries to convince Piper to stay with her after Andy turns 18, but Piper expresses her desire to live with Andy. Laura then shows Piper a freezer containing what Piper describes as crusty meat, intensifying the ominous atmosphere. Andy is discharged from the hospital and Laura continues to act suspiciously, receiving a call from Wendy where she expresses concern about Andy's psychotic break. Back at the house, Andy witnesses another disturbing vision, this time of his father being strangled by a shadowy figure while speaking Russian. Laura accuses Andy of hitting Piper, showing Piper a bruise on her face. Piper, however, denies knowing who hit her but states she smelt Andy. Laura leverages this to reinforce her narrative, claiming Andy is abusive like his father. She blames his testosterone and steroids, creatine, for his aggression and claims he butchered Oliver's mouth and has done something to Junkman. Andy vehemently denies the accusations and demands to know what happened to Oliver. Laura retaliates by attacking him, and during the struggle she says, "Oh, what, like you protected Kathy." Piper becomes distressed by the escalating violence. Andy and Piper leave the house, with Andy reaffirming his need to protect her. Andy goes to see Wendy, the social worker, who dismisses his claims of Laura's abuse and kidnapping, stating Laura is a respected former counselor. While Andy is talking to Wendy, Laura is seen attacking Wendy in her office, seemingly killing her. Andy rushes back to the house where he attempts to call Piper, leaving a heartfelt voicemail apologizing for his past behavior and revealing that their dad was abusive only when Piper wasn't around. He tells her that Laura hit her and is dangerous, pleading with her to understand. Meanwhile, Piper at her goalball game listens to Andy's message. She realizes that Laura is imitating Andy's voice and that it was Laura, not Andy, who hit her and is manipulating them. She rushes back to the house. Wendy, who has survived Laura's attack, also arrives, confronting Laura. Laura reveals her deranged plan to bring Kathy back by drowning Piper, believing Oliver is an angel and will facilitate the resurrection. She attacks Piper. Andy arrives, intervening and fighting Laura. The fight spills outside into the rain, where Laura is revealed to have the same scratches and wounds Andy saw on Oliver, confirming her self-mutilation. Laura attempts to drown Piper in the pool, but a monstrous snarling Oliver, who is revealed to be a demon, emerges from the shadows and attacks Laura, tearing at her. Laura, in her dying moments, hears Kathy's voice and sees her as she dies. Andy helps Piper out of the pool and they escape. The film ends with Andy giving his real name to the paramedics, Connor Bird, as the sounds of an airplane overhead suggest their father's spirit is truly at peace. As the chilling encounter with Laura and the demonic Oliver subsides, Andy, now identifying himself as Connor Bird, helps a shaken Piper to safety. The arrival of paramedics and law enforcement signals the end of their immediate ordeal, but the psychological scars of their experience run deep. The final scene shows Connor providing his true name to the authorities, a symbolic reclaiming of his identity after the trauma he's endured. The distant sound of an airplane mirroring his earlier comforting words to Piper about their father now carries a more hopeful resonance, suggesting a release from the oppressive past. The movie delves into the complex themes of grief, trauma, and the blurred lines between reality and delusion. Laura's descent into madness, fueled by the loss of her daughter Kathy, drives her to extreme and horrifying acts. Her belief in Oliver as an angelic entity capable of resurrection highlights the terrifying extent of her denial and psychosis. The disturbing Russian video she watches, depicting a ritualistic drowning, hints at a dark pre-existing fascination with the occult, or a cultural practice she misinterpreted and weaponized in her grief. This, combined with her systematic abuse and manipulation of Oliver, transforms her into a truly monstrous figure. Andy's journey is equally central, showcasing his struggle with the physical and emotional scars left by his abusive father. His initial attempts to shield Piper from the harsh realities of their father's cruelty and his own trauma ultimately backfire, contributing to the confusion and danger they face at Laura's house. His visions, initially dismissed as a concussion or psychological break, are revealed to be more than just figments of his imagination. They are potent warnings, glimpses into Laura's twisted reality. The film effectively uses Piper's partial sight to heighten the sense of vulnerability and reliance on her brother, while simultaneously making her a keen observer through her other senses, ultimately enabling her to discern Laura's deception. The terrifying transformation of Oliver, driven by Laura's warped rituals, blurs the line between human and something far more sinister, culminating in a horrific climax that forces both siblings to confront the true evil lurking beneath the veneer of Laura's hospitality. The ending, while providing a measure of safety, leaves a lingering sense of the profound impact of their ordeal, hinting at a long road to recovery. If you enjoy watching this video, then subscribe to Angel Recaps for the latest movies explanation.